Hey YouTube, Ed here with Jack of All Trades and welcome to another video. So I went ahead and did it and I purchased my first single action big bore revolver. So let's take a few minutes today and let's talk about this gun, how I got it, what I like about it, and why I purchased it in the first place. Stay tuned. And welcome back. So yes, like I said in the intro, I purchased my first single action big bore revolver. But before we get to talking about this, as always, I gotta please ask you to go down and hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help the channel out. It's the only way I ever ask for support. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it truly does make a difference in helping to support the channel. All right, what have I got here? I have got a Taurus single action 6-gun revolver. Now I've been looking for a 6-gun big bore for quite a while, and I've wanted a single action for quite some time, just because I think everybody should own one at some point. And I was honestly looking for a 357, and I was out on Gunbroker and I was looking around looking for that 357, and I've actually had a really good run lately of getting some pretty nice deals on Gunbroker. And I happened to run across this. It was an outfit down in, I believe, Arizona that had this up for sale. When I found it, the bidding was only up to $300, and it had about 2 hours left. I threw in a max bid of $350, and at $345, the bidding stopped, and I ended up winning the handgun, which I was extremely surprised about. I thought there was no way I was going to win it, especially considering that this particular revolver sold new MSRP for about $550 or $600. So like I said, it is a Taurus. I bought it on Gunbroker. I paid $20 for shipping, so all said and done, I was still well under $400 for the gun. So let's relocate the camera a little bit. Let's talk about the gun just a bit, and then we'll talk about what I like about it, why I purchased it, some of the plans and future I have for this particular firearm. All right, so like I said, this is a Taurus. It's a single action 45 Colt, which is not what I was particularly looking for, but when it came up and when I saw the price, I just really couldn't say no. Before we get too far into it, let's, as always, make sure we're dealing with a safe weapon. I have an unloaded firearm here, so there are no rounds in the chamber. So what drew me to this gun? When I looked at the pictures of this gun, when I first spotted it, it looked like the firearm was in really good shape. And I opened up the pictures and I zoomed in really close, and I could really find no flaws on the pictures that they had. In fact, the only place I did see any wear was on the cylinder, where the cylinder indexing catch drags across the cylinder, and that's kind of normal wear. The other thing that they showed in the pictures was they still had the original box. And in the original box, you still have the original owner's manual. You have the plastic packing sleeve that it came in. They even had the bubble wrap. The keys are still there, and the cylinder plug is in there to identify that the firearm is unloaded. So anybody who took the time, in my opinion, to save the box in the original packing material must have taken decent care of this firearm, and it really eased me in purchasing this used gun. So what about the gun? It's a 5.5 inch 45 long Colt single action. It's basically a Colt clone. It's got a color case hardened frame on it. It comes with plastic grips, and it actually, listen to this, it has the 4-stage hammer. C-O-L-T. So it's got the 4-stage hammer on it, just like the Colt Peacemaker did, and all the other clones. Now, while I have the hammer open, what's the first thing that you notice? The first thing you notice is that it doesn't have a firing pin spur on the hammer, which means that when the hammer falls and it strikes, the firing pin is internal to the frame, and that's the firing pin that actually strikes the round. The other neat thing about this gun is it is a transfer bar safety system, i.e., the trigger has to be depressed for the hammer to strike the firing pin. If it's not depressed, see if I can make it show. You can see if I squeeze the trigger like that, the transfer bar moves up and down. If you don't have the trigger depressed, it will not strike the firing pin. Why is that important? It's not really important, but what it does allow you to do is it allows you to carry 6 rounds in the cylinder instead of 5. All the other Colt clones out there that have a firing pin spur on the hammer, they always recommend you only load 5 rounds and then you carry the gun with the hammer down on top of an empty chamber. This one, since it has a transfer bar safety system on it, you can actually load all 6 cylinders, put the hammer down nice and gently, and then you can holster it and you can carry it without any danger of the gun going off just from bumping the hammer. That is the advantage of a transfer bar safety system. It allows you to use all 6 cylinders with a loaded round. Now, I've gone through the owner's manual. I can find nowhere in the owner's manual where Taurus recommends that you carry a cowboy loader, i.e. 5 rounds in the cylinder. But don't take my word for it. You as the gun owner are ultimately responsible for your own safety. Make sure you read your owner's manual and make sure that you abide by all the safety rules and guidelines that the owner's manual states. And it is your responsibility to be safe. But to my knowledge and from what I can tell, you should be able to carry 6 rounds in this gun because it does have a transfer bar safety system on it. To load this firearm, it's just like any other single action 6 gun out there. You open the loading gate, you cock it back to half cock. That allows you to rotate the cylinder and it allows you to put rounds in the chambers. You unload it the same way by using the unloading rod. The only thing I did notice is that the unloading rod doesn't seem to be quite long enough to always positively eject the shells, and you might have to dig one out periodically. I don't know if that's common in single action Colt clones or not. I just know on this gun it does happen, especially when I'm shooting less expensive ammunition. A couple of the loads seemed like they might have been a little bit hotter and they expanded in the chamber a little more and they were just a hair sticky coming out of the chambers. But all in all, the gun functioned exactly like it was supposed to. I've got no complaints. I didn't have a single misfire. I didn't have a single round that didn't go off. They all seem to be relatively accurate, as accurate as I can be with a handgun anyway. And I'm very, very happy with the performance and the function of the gun. The cylinder turns really nice, and I'm going to do something here that's probably going to trigger a whole lot of people. I'm going to spin it. It spins pretty free. It's a little stiff. It certainly isn't a slicked up 6 gun, but it is very, very functional. Like I said, 5.5-inch barrel, color case hardened frame. The color case hardening on this particular piece is really, really nice. Very happy with the depth of the case hardening and the way it looks. The hammer is also case hardened. 2 things I'm not real excited about with this gun. One is the size of the trigger guard. It's a hair small. I've got really big hands and I've got really fat fingers, and to get my finger inside that trigger guard sometimes was a little bit awkward. After I'd got through about half a box of rounds, didn't seem like it was as much of a problem, but the trigger guard seems like it's a hair on the small side, especially compared to other single action revolvers that I've shot in both small bore and big bore. The other thing I'm not horribly excited about is the plastic grips. But for $345 plus $20 shipping, I really can't complain a whole lot about it. And what that's going to allow me to do is give you content for another video. Spoiler alert, I'm going to try making grips for this gun by hand myself. So that'll be an upcoming video. Stay tuned for that. I'll let you know how that goes and we'll see how it works out. Sights on this gun are your standard single action 6 gun sights. You have a non-adjustable groove in the back and a non-adjustable front sight on the nose. Non-adjustable on the front sight is a relative term. Now, if your gun is shooting low, you can file off a little bit of the front sight and raise your point of impact of the bullets. However, if your gun is shooting high, you obviously can't add material to your front sight, and all you can really do is do maybe a 6 o'clock hold or just consciously hold low. This gun actually does shoot just a hair on the high side. I had to hold 6 o'clock hold to make it shoot on target. Windage left and right seem to be pretty much right on. And there again, adjustability on the front sight for your windage. All you can really do is kind of just tweak that front sight a little bit, but you have to be careful. And I don't know on the Tauruses, but on some of them, these are only silver soldered or brazed into place, and you do run the possibility of breaking these off. So if your windage does need to be adjusted, if you're not well versed on how to do that, you might want to take it to a gunsmith and have them make the adjustments so that you don't break the front sight off. Pretty basic sights. Now, I did shoot this quite a bit. I shot this whole box of 50 and a few out of this box. The gun is actually pretty accurate. I stepped off 15 yards. I can hit a water bottle 65 to 70% of the time if I'm concentrating and focusing. If I'm shooting fairly fast, I am certainly inside the confines of a man-sized target. The reason I bought this was because I wanted to have a sidearm that, one, was kind of old and nostalgic in principle and theory, i.e. a single action 6-gun revolver. I don't have one other than in small bore 22s, and I've always wanted a big bore. Second reason is I'm actually going to use this. As you know, I have a hunting cabin, and up there I can go pick blueberries and raspberries and mushrooms and things of that effect. And I want to have a gun like this with me for some bear deterrent, or if I get a nosy wolf or something like that, have the ability to either scare them off or put them down if absolutely necessary. And this gun is certainly going to do it. 45 long Colt is a big fat piece of lead. They shoot 250 grain bullets at a velocity of about 750 feet per second, and that is certainly more than enough to deter a bear or a wolf if I'm out in the woods doing activities as such. And I've just always wanted a 6-gun revolver, especially a single action and a big bore. It's just, for lack of a better term, it's kind of cowboy, and they're just a lot of fun to own. The things I like about the gun while I was shooting it, the trigger is really, really nice. The hammer is extremely smooth. The trigger is very crisp. It's a little light for my taste, but anytime you have a firearm where you're cocking the hammer, I kind of expect the trigger to be a hair on the light side. This is not double action. So when that hammer is cocked, it's ready to go, and you aren't putting your finger on the trigger unless you intend to shoot. So the trigger on it is really nice. The gun points very naturally for me. I even did a little bit of point shooting, or kind of, if you will, instinctive shooting, where I didn't actually use the sights. And again, at 10 yards, I stepped up a little closer just to make sure that I was hitting into the backstop. I was very, very close to my targets. And out of the 6 rounds, if I got a ticked off black bear who's mad that I'm in his blueberry patch, I think I'd be able to defend myself even just point shooting with this gun. It just points very, very naturally for me, and I really like the way it shoots. I wasn't really expecting the recoil. I know the 45 long Colt, or the 45 Colt, whichever you decide to call it, it's a pretty big cartridge, and I knew it would have some recoil, but I really wasn't expecting the level of recoil that it does have. It's got a bit of a bark to it. It wasn't unmanageable. If you hang on to it, you really shouldn't have a problem with it. Just understand there's going to be some recoil to it. All in all, I really like the gun. I like the fact that it's got a transfer bar safety system in it. I like the fact that I can load 6 rounds in it and feel good about it being in the holster. I like the way it feels. The weight is decent, just not a fan of the plastic grips. Trigger guard could be just a hair bit bigger, but those are all really little things, and for a $345 purchase, I really can't complain a whole lot about it. So at the end of the day, am I happy with my purchase? 100%. I couldn't be happier with my purchase. I like Taurus products. I always have. There's a couple of them out there that might be a little bit of suspect. For the most part, though, all the Taurus products I have, I'm very, very happy with, and I'm enjoying the use of them. This one is going to be no different. I am absolutely 100% grateful that I got this gun, and I'm really going to enjoy using it. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up. Now, as always, thank you to my subscribers and everybody who watches this video. With that, this is Ed from Jack of All Trades. As always, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching this video, and we will see you on the next video.